Welcome to the Low Country Revolutionaries, the podcast that dives deep into the heart of Charleston, South Carolina's vibrant entrepreneurial scene. I'm your host, Bill Bellott, founder of Veritas Exoscience, and each week we're spotlighting the boldest innovators from the Chucktown startup community. These are the visionaries pouring their heart and soul into the businesses that are transferring Charleston into a global hub of creativity and American ingenuity. Get ready for raw, real conversations with the trailblazers shaping our city's future. Let's dive in. I would like to welcome Michael and Victoria Winter. They are the husband and wife team behind the Ease Company, a retail strategy and consulting agency, and the Inventor-ease, an AI-driven inventory platform designed to eliminate manual data entry for retailers. Welcome, guys. How you doing?
Hey, Bill. Thanks
for having
us.
Oh, this is great.
Thanks for having us.
Anytime. So I was reading your bio here, and it sounds like you guys have a lot of experience working in the retail land. I've got some family members that have done that too, and inventory is a joyous time of season for everybody in retail world. So it sounds like you may have something here that people may love, I think. Tell me about it.
Yeah, we hope so too. So I'm a lifelong retailer. There's a few of us that I think we get in and we're just lifers. I started working retail in college, went into managing stores, and then in 2014, we opened our first store back in Louisiana, where I am from.
Nice.
And that was a really interesting time. 2014, social media was starting to take off. Customer acquisition was really easy and fun. Words that a lot of people don't use with social media marketing anymore. Right. So we were off to the races pretty early. And then in 2020, we pivoted significantly to e-com, as did the rest of the world. But right. Primarily, we were brick and mortar first. We got up there. After 2020, we were 50-50. And as much as I loved all of the tools, Shopify, that were available, right, because I'd had this long career in retail. And right. To me, it's, went from just paper only to having all of these digital systems, but they were really built for e-com. Yeah. They're built for people that work behind computers, which is great, except for those of us who don't work behind computers really were left behind. So I had a high volume multi-vendor women's apparel company. Right. And the paperwork that goes behind that is just daunting. And I'm a solutionary. My husband's a solutionary. We're like, there's got to be a better way. So we tried delegation. We tried all different types of systems. And over the past couple of years, we really decided we were going to go all in, because I am an independent retail enthusiast. I'm an independent business enthusiast. Nice. And I'm just all about lowering those boring but draining tasks so the independent guys can play ball against, the big
boys. Yeah.
So last year I pulled in Michael. He comes from medicine. I'll let him talk about his point of view where, he kind of comes in and puts his polish on top of it.
Absolutely. So I have a completely different background. I'm actually a PA by trade. I've worked in orthopedics and interventional spine management for over a decade, 15 years to be exact.
Nice.
And I've loved my career in medicine, but being alongside Victoria all these years, I've kind of co-experienced the pain points that she's had to go through being a retailer, and all that goes into that and all the different hats that retailers wear. And so we've been chatting for many years about doing something together and how can we support retailers and give them solutions that are enterprise level, made for the big boys, but bring it to independent retailers. So finally last year, I kind of took a step out and joined her full time. And it's been a great 12 months, and we made a lot of progress, been helping a lot of retailers, and also learning along the way as we've kind of been developing our flagship product, Inventor-ease.
Nice. So I got to ask the obvious question, because Victoria is a retailer expert. Michael's a medicine expert. So who made the code? So you've got an AI product here. How did you guys do that?
That's Victoria. She is the wizard with computers and AI and our tech expert. I'm just here to keep her organized and keep the ball moving forward.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I started 3 years ago. I started with the idea of turning this into a tech product. And then I really, as nerdy as it sounds, I've really fallen in love with learning software development.
Really?
And with the tools that have come out, I'm a vibe coder. I didn't get into this traditionally, but I think as large language models have given us really, I feel like they're a translation tool.
Yeah.
I can communicate with my computer in natural language, and someone who, like me, and I know there's many others out there that hold these kind of niche issues, these niche lived problems that we've wanted solutions for so long, and the tech hasn't been accessible. It wasn't something that I could transmute to developers. I would try to talk to people, and we really always say it's if you know problem.
Right.
And so, I've kind of fallen in love with the ability to really communicate in my language the problems we're facing. And I speak so much about who that end user is. Right. I'm really driving home that they're busy. Customers are walking in. Time is money. Yeah. So this needs to work, which has been really fun.
That's really cool. Yeah, I totally agree with you. The LLMs are really like great translators. Like I've done coding like 20 something years ago. And so I know what it's supposed to do, but you need to know like 3-4 different languages to do anything, even on a website. And that most normal people, you're not going to be able to spend the time to know it that well. But a LLM, you can say, hey, I want it to do this. Give me the code to do that, And that's awesome.
Mm-hmm. It's fun.
So tell me about this. So, you say there's all this pain point about doing inventory, and I've heard that from a number of people. What makes Inventor-ease like this magic for retailers? What does it help them? How does it help them do their inventory where they're not back there tracking things down on shelves?
Yeah. So we actually tackled the front end inventory. So the scenario that I'll paint for you is you're a retailer. Let's say you have a sporting goods store. Mm-hmm. You're at a trade show. You're placing orders for kayaks and fishing poles and backpacks and water bottles, right? When you get home, that data burden is pretty heavy. And there's been a ton of solutions to help the wholesalers, right? To help these brands to organize. So then that has actually had a reverse trickle down effect for retailers. We have to remember all these logins to all the different platforms that all of our brands use. Sometimes it's paper. A lot of times it's still paper. That shocks developers when I tell them that. So what we do is we have an AI parsing layer that is the first kind of line of defense against the chaos. All you have to do, you can take a picture, you drag and drop, whatever file format that your wholesalers are sending you those purchase orders, you put it in. The AI is trained on understanding purchase orders and knowing what they're looking for, speaking our jargon, and then that moves it into editable data layers that are compatible to Shopify. So then you can go in and break up if you want to edit the title or you want to edit the description. So you can kind of that's the staging layer, but it's pulling most of the information with 98% accuracy.
Wow.
As we've been building this, we also had a manual layer where we use VAs to do this, who would do it at about 75% accuracy. So even us as experts in this, I would say we are at 85% accuracy. So it catches stuff all the time. So from there, you can just push publish to Shopify. After you check it in, we say we take your backroom staff from just data entries to quality assurance checkers.
Yeah, right.
They're making sure you're being charged exactly what you committed to on that trade show floor, what you ordered. That's such a big pain point when you don't have that initial purchase order. Prices change, especially with these tariffs. We have seen egregious.
Right.
I mean, we've saved just in one error last year, we saved a client $2,500 in a few seconds that they would have, the team just pushed it ahead because they thought that's how much the cost was. So essentially that's it in a nutshell. So what was taking, one purchase order with, let's say, an average of 10 items on it.
That's cool.
would take a data entry as like 45 minutes. It takes about 45 seconds. Yeah.
That's amazing.
And that's
Yeah.
a seasoned data entryist. For someone that's an expert or as a retailer, their focus is on curating their store, selling to their customers,
Right.
not taking that information and entering it into their Shopify correctly or consistently. That's another layer of this is, whoever's responsibility that typically is in the store. Someone goes out on leave, someone's sick, someone else picks up that job role. And as great as Shopify is, then there's no consistency from one person to the next on
Right.
how that product information is entered. I'll paint this picture for you. After someone goes to market, they make all these purchase orders. They come home with all that information. One, it's coming to them in a bunch of different formats, as Victoria talked about: CSV, PDF, handwritten, abundant different formats. To manually enter one product into Shopify, it takes upwards of 18 clicks and data entry points to manually input that information. So you can have purchase orders that have anywhere from 10 items to 100 items, and you're trying to take all that information, manually put it in, and then be consistent with that moving forward to help with your data.
That
So
seems
we're
like
trying
it'd
to
take hours.
It absolutely can. It absolutely can. It is a very grueling process and problem. And it's kind of one of those unspoken discussions because retailers are just, they're trying to keep their stores moving forward. And I think it's kind of part of the responsibilities, which I guess we're trying to alleviate all that time burden and give them better data with all of this.
So your system also, it sounds like, and I would just want to be sure I'm accurate here, it also kind of helps with, reducing those number of clicks in Spotify. You're populating those fields in there automatically.
Yes, it syncs up. So the first thing you do when you log in, you sync up your Shopify. We're certified Shopify partners. So we have that kind of connection. So it can read your data, make sure, it kind of gets an understanding of what you are in one click. It's live on your website. So
nice.
Yeah.
That's really cool. Yeah, that'll save someone a huge amount of work because doing manual data entry is no fun to anybody. And like you were saying earlier, it's like the quality control is it depends on who's doing it, and if people change, it can change vastly about what you get into those systems, right?
Yeah, we always say no one got into retail to do data entry. It's just, you're a creative, you're passionate about what you do, right? You shouldn't be passionate about this. You shouldn't be an expert in this. We're trying to eliminate it completely. That's cool. So you're talking a little bit about trying to help out like the independent retailers. Like you're not trying to really go after the Sears and the JCPenney's and the giant stores that are all over the country. It's like, so Go ahead. What are you going to say, Michael?
I was going to say, no, they have solutions built for them. They have enterprise level solutions. We're trying to help the independents, folks that have a single location, a couple of locations, right, where they're growing to the point where they're starting to feel all these pain points, but there's no real solutions that are kind of catered or built for them.
Right. Yeah. So like, is it mostly... I'm going to use some old lingo. Is it mostly like brick and mortar type places, or is it like people that do only e-commerce, or is it a mix of kind of store that you guys work with? I mean, so many people, I'm partial to brick and mortar. I think they need the most support, and I think they do so much for our community. I know they do so much for our communities. I'm very bullish on protecting our local economies, keeping local jobs. I could go on for days about the data research that we've done on really the trickle down positive effects for that. So brick and mortar, but everybody at this point has to have an e-com layer. 80% of shoppers, even if they're shopping in person, report pre-shopping online before they go into that store. So that's where we believe too, that having these simple ways to get your product catalog live online, even if you are someone that has a ton of SKUs, there's a lot of benefits that point to that. Even if you're not trying to be e-com, a huge e-com store, because there's pros and cons that come with that too. It's challenges, but it still gives you that live, reliable, easy to update catalog
That's just good to have.
That's cool.
It allows someone to vibe check you before they come shop with you.
Yeah. Hey, so I've just got a curious question, because you're probably the only people that would know this. So, if you're shopping on Shopify or any of these things, obviously almost every product, well, pretty much 100% of the products have a picture. Does that come from the manufacturer, or does the local retailer have to take that picture and put it in? How does the picture thing work?
The picture thing is such a headache, but yes, it could be both. So It depends. My company, that was because we're growing in e-com, we did 100% of our own photos, which honestly, there's a lot of people that make that more complicated. We took them with iPhones.
Right.
iPhones are amazing, right? We don't have to do cost savings. What Inventor-ease does, though, allows you to drag and drop your vendor photos, and you can even put in a URL and scrape photos from your vendor's website. I mean, obviously there's copyright issues. Don't go steal it from a competitor's store.
Right.
That's something that we don't, disclaimer, we don't touch. But that saves a ton of time too, and just helps again with that visual search layer.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. So what types of, are you mainly working with businesses here in the Charleston area? Are you guys around the country? What's kind of like your scope here?
Yeah, so we just wrapped our group of beta. So we had beta clients that we were, building this on. They were so kind enough to let us tinker around with our manual processes, get in their Shopify, train our models on all of their purchase orders. And those were women's retail, just because that's where I come from. Right. But it's a problem that we've heard from so many other, that any place where you can close your eyes, you think of that kind of multi-vendor store down the street. Right. We aimed it to have kind of just custom enough, but not too niche down that you couldn't see yourself. It solves a wide range of problems. So home goods stores, sports and outdoors. We love sports and outdoor stores living in the low country. So we always kind of use it as our North Star. Right. Just because if you think about it, they do carry such a wide range.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
That and hardware stores.
Yes. Yeah. Hardware stores. I do love some hardware stores too. I'll put them on our vision board. Yeah. I don't have it up there.
To answer your question, Bill, I mean, about 60% of our clients thus far have been in the South Carolina, state of South Carolina, particularly Charleston. We have had some clients across the Southeast and Alabama and Georgia. That's been our focus. It's what we know. It's the, where Victoria comes from. And so it was a natural starting place for us. But what we're doing can translate, to anywhere. If you have a Shopify account, a mix of brick and mortar and e-com, this solution could help you.
Cool. So I guess I've got two more questions here. I'm going to try not to put them on top of each other. So if you're a shop owner that's listening to this and they're like, hey, I'm kind of interested in this. So when they contact you guys and say, hey, I want to try this out, what do they have to do? Do you guys have to actually go to their store and get into their IT systems to put this in? Do they just log in through a website? What do they have to do on their end to kind of get into this?
Yeah, that's such a good question, Bill. And because we're just rolling out right now, so I'm excited that this is very fresh. All they would have to do, we're on a rolling basis right now. So they would go to our website, Inventor-ease.com, and they would sign up for the wait list, and then they get personally onboarded by myself.
Nice.
But all they have to do is go log in, sync up. They put in their Shopify credentials privately on their side. Our system, reads and writes only the product information. That's another thing that we're very secure. We don't touch a lick of sensitive data.
Good.
I have it built that I don't want it. Don't put anything sensitive in there. I don't want to have to deal with that. Right. And then from there, it's just starting to get comfortable. The biggest challenge is getting people to change their habits when it comes to this.
Right.
So it's figuring out how to get your team on board. It really is so simple, but that's our biggest hurdle. My kind of philosophy on AI, I'm very optimistic about technology. I think that it can do a world of good. But I say AI is not coming for your jobs, it's coming for your tasks. And
Right.
people really love to hold on to the task.
Yeah.
So saying that it's okay to give this job, even though, because we'll hear pushback, well, we're already doing it. It's not really a problem. And me, I value time and creativity so much, and being fresh and customer facing in this really challenging market. I mean, this is one of the most challenging retail markets that I have seen in my career. And I started in 2008 in luxury. So
Right.
it's saying a lot. So it's, how are you going to cook that into your team if you're a shop owner? And that's where I'm like, I'll give you that advice for free, because it's
Yeah.
a big hurdle.
Yeah. I mean, it's the argument of the opportunity lost. You're spending all this time doing this task that you're used to doing, but what opportunities are you losing because you don't have this time? And I totally get what you're saying. That makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah.
So
we're still figuring that out. If you have any advice, Bill.
actually, what comes to my mind, and just off the top of my head, is what in the technology area I've worked in for a number of years. One of the biggest thing is one of the biggest hurdles is adoption, and you're sort of talking about this adoption issue.
Yeah.
And what has worked to some extent is training. Is just going in and talking to the people, answering their questions, being there and training them, whether you do that in person or do it through a webinar type thing. I have seen that work for people, is to get people kind of comfortable with doing something a different way. And then the other one in my industry is, don't just do it one time. Follow back up, because we've seen in our technology area where people will use the product a little bit first week or two, and then we'll go back and do it the other way. Probably not in your guys' case, because once people get going that way, but mine, it was we do exoskeletons, and so people would like, oh, I just won't wear it today, and kind of thing. So so my other question was this, and this one I don't know if there's a good answer, or you haven't had enough data yet on this one, but so how does this help the customer?
Yes, that is a great question, the one we've thought about the most. We think about this from, how does this help the customer? Then how does it help your staff? How does it help you as a shop owner? We're thinking in reverse of how most trickle-down systems work. So, customer service is what my company was built on. We grew a really healthy business through $0 of ad spend, because we spent all of our time thinking about our clients, reaching out to our clients, sourcing for our clients. Our clients were the number one focus. And you see that lost at times. And I think there is a lot, because there is just this pressure to keep up. When I started in 2014, having a social media presence was a nice thing to have.
Yeah.
Having email marketing was a nice thing to have. Now those are have to have. They're have to have
them now. Yeah.
And you have to feed the beast at levels that we haven't seen before. So our hopes are eliminating these unglamorous, time-consuming tasks. Let's retailers and whoever finds this product and use it, and who knows, this could be hospital gift store, whatever it is, that they're able to turn that energy and focus back to hospitality. I think that in the future, in the next few years, wherever this economic disruption comes and whatever sectors it hits, people are going to win.
Right.
And so having that focus, training your team on what the extra mile really is really where I encourage our clients to spend the most amount of time.
Yeah. Yeah. I can feel that. I just know from my little shopping habits, it's like, if it's not a place that I like interacting with the people, and I can just get it online, whether it's Amazon, Shopify, or whatever, and have it delivered to me, I'll just do that instead of going out, Yeah. But if it's a place where, I hate to say just customer service. It's not even customer service. It's just nice folks to be around. It's worth going there just for that.
Yeah.
And then usually I'll buy something too.
Yeah, it's the difference. That's where I say it impacts our communities on these levels that we really don't think about. And I would hate to, lose not only the beauty and the jobs, but yeah, that feeling that you can pop in somewhere and have a conversation with someone. And yeah, I think we would feel those impacts
Yes.
after they're gone.
Yeah.
And I would like to avoid that.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the number one thing would be customer service and enhancing the customer experience by offloading all these manual data entry tasks. It can free up a retailer or their staff to have more energy to improve the customer experience when they do come into the store. The other layer I'll throw on top of that is the accuracy layer. There's nothing more frustrating that if you're a customer and you do want to buy from an independent retailer and they do have an online presence, and you go on their website and you try to order something and the inventory is not correct or something happens with that, you're making the attempt, then you're like, never mind, I'm just going to order on Amazon. So with this system, it helps with the accuracy level as well, so that you can keep your Shopify up to date. So when you do find that customer that wants to shop with you, they're able to easily. People don't buy on Amazon for the customer experience. They buy on Amazon for the convenience. We're trying to kind of help empower independence with that same, to be able to give that ease to their customer, make it easy for the customer to find them and shop with them and make it an enjoyable experience.
I mean, I just had that experience with something. I don't know if it was through Shopify, but it was through a vendor. I bought something. It looked like it was in their inventory, and then a week later, I get an email, oh, we don't have that in our inventory anymore. I'm like, but it was on there. It allowed me to actually order it. It allowed me to put my credit card and all that stuff in. This is crazy. And that's frustrating because now, as a customer, I'm not going back. Right. And and it's crazy. It's just, it's a little bit of psychology. It's like, hey, if you can't keep your inventory up, it's like, really, guys, it's like, what else ain't so good,
Yes, exactly. There's the trust factor for sure.
Yeah. So how does your stuff really, because that's what it's all about is trust. How does your stuff get into the trust factor? How does it help a business build that trust with their customers? I mean, we've sort of been talking around that with all these things, but talk about that from your perspective.
Yeah, I would just piggyback on what Michael said, is that accuracy. I have this annoying drive always in my head of how you do anything is how you do everything. So you're exactly right. There's that feature of being like, well, if they can't even go through the care of keeping up their websites, it's not someone, I don't trust them, which honestly, from being in the inside lived experience, that's how I learned all of this stuff. As we were growing, my company grew 60% in a year. So you want to learn some stuff fast, go through that torture. And then that's when I was here, I was running it remotely. We were in Charleston. It was a pandemic. We couldn't get back. So I had to figure out how to stop these leaks and why they started. And because we were not going to risk losing our customer base that had been with us through forever. It just wasn't an option. That's when I became obsessed with why isn't this working accurately, and finding a lot of these problems just because I think it matters.
Right.
I think, it just matters. And I know that a lot of retailers, we find they're just pushing it to Shopify. Like a lot of systems can kind of sync up, and it's definitely not top of mind, right? It's hard to think of everything. But I think it definitely impacts the.
Well, I always think it's like everything represents you,
Yes. Yeah.
And if you're just throwing it out there just because, I'll just throw it on Shopify and see if I get something, maybe rethink that's what I would say. It's like, if you're not going to do it well, don't do it,
And I will say though that my systems that I created in my company were thanks to the feedback from our clients. We did tons of surveys, and that's a piece of advice that I would give to anyone in business right now. You would be shocked. And luckily, my a girl on my team she'd worked for a larger company. She's like, surveys work. I'm like, no one's going to go through the trouble of answering this. I was so happy to be proven wrong, because people, and I think especially when you're in an independent business, you feel human. People will tell you what they don't like about your shopping experience and what they wish would be better.
That's
and
cool.
We took that, like, where some people I think could be offended. I was like, this is gold.
Right. It is
Thank
gold.
you
Yeah.
so much. And we would tweak things all the time based off of our customer feedback, which to me, I just think is fast track. I think it is. Yeah.
Well, since we're into the advice section, so what advice do you have for other entrepreneurs out there in the Charleston area?
Michael, what you got?
What comes top of mind to me is, first, if you have aspirations of being an entrepreneur, you'll hear this all over the place, is take that first step and go for it at some point. Whether, everybody has their different time frame, in life but if you have that itch to be an entrepreneur, when you get there, take that step and show up. The second, which I think is of as equal or more important, is keep showing up, right? No one, it doesn't talk about after that kind of honeymoon phase of 3 months when you take a step out as an entrepreneur. It's exciting for the first 90 to 120 days. And then reality starts to kind of set in, and you have these days. And literally, I've had to do so much self-work in this whole process. Victoria's been an entrepreneur for forever. She's used to all of this. I've come from a different world. And so taking a step out and doing something completely 180 degrees different is like, okay, this is fun and exciting, and it's been great every step of the way. But each day showing up, whether you feel like it, show up with what you can. And keep showing up throughout the whole process would be my piece of advice.
Awesome.
Yep.
Anything else, Victoria?
No, I mean, listen, I'll say starting a second company is like having a second kid. It's so much easier. Where it was like, I felt like Mike would be like, this sucks. And grinding. I'm like, but I've done it before. I know what happens, but I always, Michael and I talk about mindset work constantly. It's what, if you're going to do something, especially what we're doing, it has been tricky. No one is looking for this solution, right? If you go up to an independent retailer and say, what's the biggest problem plaguing you? They're not going to say that my purchase order entry is clunky and not a good system. They're never going to say that. So the challenge has been for us is bringing something new to market that we know is impactful, that people aren't necessarily looking for. So you have to be obsessed with the problem.
Yeah. Well, it's very true.
Yeah.
It's like, you've experienced it and you know exactly what the issue is. And just because nobody else has tackled it, because it's like, we'll just keep doing it this way, doesn't mean this isn't a great idea. I mean, It's very similar. So I interviewed another company that does a very similar type process for transit trucks. So the trucks coming out of the port, and all of those truck drivers get, bill of lading, sort of like this. And they have to do all that manual entry. And so this company was basically getting it in there automatically through AI and stuff like that. I'm like, of course, this makes perfect sense. And this sounds like very similar to that. And it's like, I guess the biggest problem I would see for any company out there is, what are you going to do with your free time? I mean, because, if you're not spending all your time doing this, it's like, now you got time to do all sorts of stuff,
Just ask me. If you're listening, you have a problem. I will tell you, I have so many. I think the hospitality side and the creativity side is so fun. That was our fuel as a team.
Really?
It's so fun. And I think, like I said, I'm not trying to glorify and say, this is 2014. I would never disrespect a current business, because the landscape is it's changing all the time. I think we're in a pendulum swing back to where people are going to want to be in person more.
Yes.
But yeah, get back to what you love about it, or maybe try to find someone that does love what you want and sell it to them, because, we're not out of the woods yet on commerce disruption. So
absolutely.
Yeah, Find the fun.
Yeah, find the fun. That's a great way to end. I really appreciate it, guys. This has been wonderful. I'm really excited.
Bill.
Thank you, Bill.
Thank you. That's a wrap for this episode of the Low Country Revolutionaries. Thanks for joining us as we celebrate the fearless entrepreneurs making wave in Charleston's Chucktown Startups community. I'm Bill Bellot, and it's been an honor to share these inspiring stories with you. If you enjoyed this episode, subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who needs a spark of low country innovation. Until next time, keep pushing the boundaries of what's possible.